It's a great pleasure to have you guys with me today. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and introduce y'all and have you guys fill in the gaps because your rap sheets are really long and your time is limited.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So as everybody knows, this is the entertainment panel, and basically what we're trying to do is all of you guys in the diaspora have done a great deal. The African diaspora has done a great deal, especially in the entertainment industry, to make sure that that you're well positioned. And in doing so, you're also helping position Africa, the African entertainment industry in your own rights. So this is basically an introductory to make sure that people understand who you guys are and to see how we can make this entertainment industry a more viable industry, a more vibrant industry, creating an ecosystem where we can monetize, we can get this money pretty much from our efforts. So it's a pleasure to introduce Michael Akiko, aka Kiko, my Morehouse brother. And you have a long rap sheet, as I said. You are currently with YouTube Google. You're with the music section of that.
No, I'm not. I'm not at YouTube any longer.
Not anymore?
No, I was at Universal Music Africa, based in Lagos, Nigeria. Now I'm still consulting for a number of artists and labels in Nigeria.
Okay. You know what? I'll let you introduce yourself.
For sure. So my name is Michael Akiko, or Kiko as everyone calls me. Tour marketing for Capitol Records in New York, and really made a name for myself on the A&R and kind of publishing side of things. As you mentioned, my journey into the continent and into my country, Nigeria, musically, really started with YouTube. While at YouTube, I was doing artist relations in both the States and Africa. While there, I had the pleasure of working with Burna Boy and Tiwa Savage and a number of different acts. Most recently, I was living in Lagos, Nigeria as head of A&R for Universal Music Nigeria. While there, I worked with a number of different artists. Most notably, I worked on the Lion King, The Gift project with both Tiwa Savage and Techno, who appeared on the project. Now I am back stateside, but I am still working with a number of artists on the continent, and my passion for Africa remains as strong as ever, and that's me.
Wonderful. Glad to have you here. Privileged. Lilian Blankson, aka Lil, if you know her. What do I say? You are the CEO. Lilian's the CEO of L&B Entertainment. She's currently managing her artist, Wonder Boy, who is a Nigerian but global artist, R&B, multifaceted, let me say. Lilian is responsible. If you know BET International and you know the BET Awards, Lilian is pretty much responsible for bringing inclusion to Africa. As far as the BET Awards, just getting us that slot, Best International Act. I posted something earlier today, and you are responsible for making that happen. And you've done a lot for the continent behind the scenes. So bravo to you. If I missed anything, please feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I just want to say I've had over 20 years of, experience in the entertainment business, most of it at BET. I've worked with Vibe, I've worked with Essence Magazine. I'm also a writer, producer, and director. And my next step is going to be filmmaking. So those are my passions. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Well, happy to have you guys here. Most privileged, as
Thank
I
you.
said. My name is Kwaku-T, for the people who don't know me. I entrepreneur. My career spanned about 30 years. Uh, I make music. I do film. I act. I write scripts. I do radio. I do TV. Um, that genre that is Afro beats right now, I was part of the people who kind of lay the blueprint for that right now. And so I'm moderating the panel. And so I guess we'll just jump right into it.
Sure.
Yeah, it appears that there are a lot of brands right now, African brands that are doing quite a bit. You know, and a lot of people are getting getting endorsement deals, etc. So I would like to ask you, because this is what I consider culture capital as well. How would you define culture capital?
You want to start with me? I would say cultural capital is the power of, you know, your culture, how the culture is able to open doors and create more opportunities for people that look like us and may have similar backgrounds. I think that's ultimately what I do believe it means to me, and that relates to the continent and music and et cetera. I think the bigger our music, you know, becomes, and, you know, the more it travels, I think the more it'll create opportunities for these younger artists coming up and these younger executives who may want to do A&R, who may want to do artist relations, who may want to do marketing on the continent. I think, you know, I think we'll get into this later. I think so much of the opportunity for our music in so many ways has existed outside of Africa. So building cultural capital, I think, ultimately means being able to create jobs and opportunities within the continent for music, for all different kinds of things. That's what it means to me.
Very dope, very dope. Lilian?
You know, when I thought of cultural currency, I thought about it on a personal level. And I thought about, you know, what culture means to people, which is, it definitely defines who you are based on, you know, your language, how you speak, how you vibe, how you dress, what you eat, how you live, your circle of friends, right? That's kind of your culture. And I think your currency, you know, individually, not overall, is basically defined by that. You know, who do you know? What's your circle? Who are you influencing? Your currency is based on your clique in a lot of ways. But I agree with, you know, what Michael says, because it's, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Your access.
Yes, I definitely feel that, you know, the movement of your culture is what defines what people are gravitating towards and what they define you to be and what it's bringing you. What's the value of it? You know, what's its value? What is it benefiting you or us or people? That's really how I kind of look at cultural currency.
Got it, got it, got it. So when I was growing up, and I'm sure it was similar for some of y'all, but when I was growing up, my parents never wanted me to get into the entertainment industry. There was a lot of, the entertainment industry really is not respected that much in Africa, even though we've come a long way, you know, but I think my second question would be like, why do you think music and entertainment in Africa is not more dynamic? Why do you think we've lagged behind for so long? It's been 30 years. We're only now really being put in a position where popular music from Africa is going to the Grammys.
So I think for a while, I think there was, I think the music was in this interesting transitional space. So like I remember growing up and going to the Nigerian weddings that my parents would drag me to when I was younger. And for the longest time, it was a lot of the same kinds of music that skewed a bit older, you know? So it was a lot of, you know, religious kind of based music, you know, some reggae kind of influences and different stuff like that, but it ultimately skewed older. And I think within probably, yeah. So I think within the last probably 7 or 8 years, I think probably longer than that, maybe within the last 10, I would say, you know, you've seen the rise of the Tiwa Savages, the Burna Boys, the, you know, Whiz Kids and people like that, who brought this young kind of exciting pop energy to the music that young people felt like they could ultimately get behind and identify with. And I think that shot in the arm is kind of what really gave this genre of music a boost and kind of redefined it in a lot of different ways and put it in so many ways on the world stage. Because when we talk about popular music in so many different ways, it's in the clubs, it's, you know, what people are streaming and all those different kinds of things. And I think for a long time, we didn't necessarily have that energy. And then there was this whole new crop of people who I feel like were pioneers, who put our music on the map in that way by creating music for a whole younger generation that's similar to me, got dragged to those weddings when they were kids and wanted music that they felt like was a bit more connected to who they were. And, you know, I think as far as why it's similar, why it's kind of lagged behind, I think there's a number of different reasons. I mean, I want to be clear, those artists are thriving, you know, they're doing well, they're able to do well internationally and book shows and et cetera. But I think there's a lot of structural difficulties that exist within the continent that make it difficult for the music to fully be monetized within the continent. And I think those sorts of things make it extremely difficult. And also I think, you know, the music is really just getting introduced to a broader audience. So every album that Burna puts out, every album that Davido puts out, every album that Tiwa Savage puts out is growing the base. And I think we're just kind of seeing the beginning. And I think, you know, as they continue to become more and more popular and seed the market, and we see the Remas and the Tennies and people like that who are coming through, the music will continue to grow. Like I do believe it can be as huge and as impactful as what Latin music has shown to be here in the US, but I think it's just gonna take time. And I think people like myself, like Lilian, like other people in this space, I think we're all working to fix some of the challenges that exist within Africa, but the artists are doing the work. They're making the heat. So I think, you know, it's just gonna take some time to grow because we're just getting to this place where people are becoming familiar and people who are not of the culture know, you know the Davido records, know the Tiwa records and everything. And I think as time goes on, that familiarity is only going to grow, so.
Yeah. I want to go back a little further. I have kind of a twofold answer, and I go back a little further to say, you know, I'll touch a little bit more on what, you know, Mike said. And it's really that we're lacking infrastructure. We don't have it, particularly when you go to countries like Ghana. You know, I found it really comical that the president recently either texted or tweeted, oh God, Shatawale, I'm sorry. Shatawale, you do all, you know, okay, he does all just because, you know, the Beyonce video dropped and the whole world was now looking at Shatawale, and through Shatawale, of course, they're going to look at Ghana. But where's the infrastructure? Where is the support? We don't have any support. I have to, you know, commend Nigeria in a way, because it might not be directly, but you see governors doing shows and flying artists out and paying them because they know their worth. You see the banks having Christmas parties and getting artists, you know. We don't have that in Ghana. That just doesn't happen. We're now in a state where you can't even have beverage brands, you know, support the music industry. And so what you have then is music that is being created haphazardly, particularly in Ghana, you know. And when there's no infrastructure and there's no foundation, people don't feel safe, they don't feel secure to create music that's viable. So you see in Ghana, what's happening is, like, for example, Azonto, when they see a type of music that is getting a lot of popularity and global familiarity, everybody wants to replicate it. So then the system becomes flooded with the same types of music. No one is really creating more of a diversity and showing different sides, you know. So we, you know, we are, what I like to use the word that, you know, we're vulnerable, if you will, because we don't know how we can sustain this. People want to make a living off making music. There are people that are passionate about the music that they're making, but they don't have the support that is necessary to even, you know, like you were saying, get like their publishing, you know, that we have no real right society. And this is something that, you know, the artists have been fighting for a very long time, and it has yet to happen. Then you look at the second part of it, which is the West doesn't really know what to do, because like Michael said, it's just coming in, but it hasn't really just been coming in. You know, Fela started in the 70s and created this force of music. You know, when Fela started, he really didn't give two craps about whether you liked his music or not. He wasn't focused on a global audience. He was focused on a political message and a platform in his country to give his people the independence and freedom, you know, and he talked about corruption and so many things, but at the same time, he was entertaining. So now, you know, you have the West who already think we're just one country when we're a continent. And there's so many different variations of music, but that's not being recognized. Anything out of Africa is automatically Afrobeats. And that becomes very problematic because we have, for example, in South Africa, house music, which is a huge movement over there. You know, we have Fuji music, we have Juju music, we have high life, we have hip life, you know, and of course we do have Afrobeats. We have so many, we have the Francophone movement, but it's not being recognized, it's not being categorized because they don't know what to do with it. So I think that this is a very broad kind of problem, and it's not something that can be easily dissected. You know, there are a lot of different angles to look at it, but what Mike said is really the best in terms of an overall global answer, which is when people don't know what to do with your music and they don't, you know, quite know how to do it, it becomes problematic, and we have to control the narrative. It is critical that we understand our own music and its value so we can control it. And instead of being boxed, we say, no, this is what this is, and that is what that is. That's kind of the lane we need to be on before we get played, you know?
You know what?
I wanted to add to what Lilian said. So, you know, I think I can't overstate some of the structural abnormalities that do exist in Africa, which make it difficult to monetize music, specifically in a lot of West Africa. So it's difficult for artists to get publishing. You know, obviously most of my career was made here in the States, so I understand the nuts and bolts and the numbers of what makes music profitable throughout the world. So I even know two publisher friends of mine currently in the States who are in love with different producers or different writers or different artists and want to sign them, but it's difficult to make it make financial sense unless it's being fully exploited outside of Africa, which is extremely problematic. And, you know, a lot of this, I think, centers around education. I think people need to be far more educated about what publishing is, what royalties are, and the collection societies need to be cleaned up. And, you know, I think those conversations I know that I was involved in when I was living in Lagos. And, you know, I think it's difficult to start the conversation with structural abnormalities that exist within music because we're talking about Africa. So the structural abnormalities don't start with music. They start at the top and they're pervasive down, right? So, so it's difficult to start the conversation with music, but, you know, I'm reminded of, you know, a trip that I took to Ghana when I had the opportunity to meet the Ghanaian president. And I think, you know, so many of us who are talented and intelligent and have all this insight from our work in different parts of the world. I think it's up to us to kind of work together and figure out how we can build Africa and how we can make it better versus continuing to have these discussions about the problems. Let's talk about what we can do to create solutions within the continent.
Without only if we don't get the pushback, because sometimes you present solutions and you suggest things and you get the pushback. And one of the things I've always said publicly is that when you come to America or even Europe, the music business is a very viable business. It's a part of the lifestyle here. Making movies and making music is hand in hand. And it's a billion or trillion dollar industry. And we don't have value or respect. We automatically assume that all musicians are, junkies and they're not serious and they're organizers and this and that. But we're bringing attention to the country. Are bringing attention to the country. And the moment Beyonce kind of puts her stamp on Africa, now suddenly you do all things. Okay, how about putting some money and structure behind that? How about that?
Yeah, but yes, but also want to say, like, this idea of, we can have a much larger discussion about colonialism and how that affected Africa and stuff like that. We know that. I don't need to educate any of you. Right. So I was excited to hear, like, when the project first came out and I had artists working on it, that someone of the stature of a Beyonce was certainly reaching to the continent, just because, unfortunately, that's the way it works, right? Because when someone big reaches out and is like, oh, this is something now that should be paid attention to, more people now pay attention, but it also motivates us to get our shit together. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like, when people like that wanna come and be like, well, I wanna work with y'all, and and we know all the difficulties that exist. We know that there's eyeballs on us now. So hopefully that motivates us, all of us, including myself, including you and everybody. Like, yo, people are fucking with us. Like, so yo, let's get our shit together. Let's work. Let's fix this system so that it doesn't take someone of that stature to even help us. Let's blow our own shit up within our continent, the same way that Latin America has been able to do, the same way that the Caribbean has been able to do with some of their artists. And I'm very much a student of what those two regions have been able to accomplish. So that's
I agree, but we do need support. We need
1,000%.
Yeah, we need the support. I think with the support, we'll get a lot further. Yeah.
Lilian, I want to add to your infrastructure issue. I almost missed this call, right? Because I've had light off from morning.
Oh my God.
You understand? Like, I had made a plan, power outage. I didn't make a plan B because my lights aren't usually off. Today of all days for morning, they cut my lights. I got like 10 computers in my house. I can't use any of them because there's no light. So I had to find somebody else's office. I had to hustle my boys. Yo, can I use your office? Can I use your office? Can I use your office? Eventually, one of my guys was drinking down the road. He was like, okay, I'll come just because it's you. These are some of the problems.
Yeah.
Like, Yus was about to lose his mind. Like, yo, Kwaku, can you do this? I was like, I will do it.
Yeah.
Even if I have to be in like a little shack in a corner with some light, I'm gonna get it done. But we do too much. We go out of the way, we do too much. And I don't think that for the amount of energy we exert, we get that level of reward. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So now we got like 6 minutes. And the next question I'm gonna ask you is like,
was a doozy.
So we can try, we can try, but this was the introductory. We're gonna get y'all back in here because there's a lot we need to talk about. There's a lot we need to untuck as far as what you guys are doing and as far as what we can do as a collective to push the industry, this African industry forward. So what I wanna know is, from y'all is, how can we close this gap? How can we close this development gap? How can we make sure that the proper infrastructure is in place so that we can monetize, so that we're respected, as artists, and we're not boxed into one genre?
So, I mean, I think it's so interesting because I know Mr. Easy is working on a couple of things to kind of fix the infrastructure as well, within Nigeria, of course. But look, I think it's a lot of what I think it's a lot of what I just said. I think it's up to the folks like us, like Lilian, like, a number of different people, Mr. Easy, and different people who have collective experience throughout the music business, throughout the world, who have knowledge of how things should be structured and should be done. And I think it's going to take us to invest time, energy, and money into fixing these systems in Africa to get them to work. And listen, for the record, I'm not saying it will be easy, or I'm not saying it will. I'm saying that, but the same way that we put time, energy, and effort here in the States into a number of different things, or in the UK or these different places, I think we should invest that same amount of time, energy, and love into our continent to fix some of these structural abnormalities, and also to do a lot of education, just because I think a lot of it, centers around people just not fully being aware of how to execute and properly do certain things. Or even, like, I remember when I was in Lagos, like, there was a conversation about publishing, and there was a whole host of folks who worked in the music business in that room who weren't fully knowledgeable about how royalties are collected, or different income streams for artists as it relates to publishing. So I think, we all need to invest time and energy and put it into, and especially because, our music is becoming a commodity. I mean, it is a commodity, not becoming, it's a commodity. Right. The same way that Nollywood is now a commodity. It's it's right under Bollywood at this point, as far as the production of it and how much we're putting out. So I think, there needs to be a focus from creatives within the diaspora on building that infrastructure and educating folks down there, and just doing the work to try to put pieces together to make a better future for the people who want to be creatives tomorrow, the people who want to be artists tomorrow. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah. Right. Lilian? I
agree with what Michael said. There needs to be some conversations to educate the powers that be. One of the biggest frustrations in Ghana is you can't just get up and get anything done. You have to have an in with someone, and it's really difficult for them to understand
who you know.
Exactly who you know. And it's difficult for you to get people to even put any kind of trust or value in what you're talking about, because Nollywood is, global. It is global. You can go to like Spanish people sometimes with my niece, Dominicans, to get her hair done. And you'll see they're watching Nigerian movies. And I'm not talking like, oh, it's just on. They are watching it. Like, they're doing the hair and they're watching it. You're talking to her. She's not even listening because she dialed in. And it's like, when it finishes, oh, you have the next part? Oh, it's like that's. And Ghana, Ghana, the film industry is almost non-existent right now. Why has that happened? We need support, and we need people to listen and understand the value. Look at the West. Look at what film means to, just the movie industry. Look what it means to America. COVID has shut it down almost 100%. And directors are suffering, and writers are suffering, and actors and actresses are suffering. People are suffering, and the public, the consumer is suffering, because that's what they use to chill. Take the stress off. They go on dates by going to watch a movie. That's non-existent. People are not touring. People look forward to Glastonbury. They want to go and watch all their favorite grime artists or UK artists or whatever. Didn't happen. Shut down. That's how you know the value of something. When it's impacted you in a way where there's such a huge void, then you realize that, okay, this commodity has value. So now what we need to really look at is how we can have these conversations with the higher ups and get them to actually understand that this is something that is going to benefit us It's going to put Ghana on the map. It's going to draw tourism. It has so many layers to the benefits. It's not just about helping a bunch of musicians out. It's about giving them a foundation, giving them structure, and also bringing notoriety to all the different countries. It's about, again, handling this narrative and saying it in our own way, in our own language, and letting people see that Africa is no longer Tarzan and no longer what, you know, was depicted so many years ago. We are now cosmopolitan, and we have all of these things that people can comfortably invest in, but we can't do so without an organization and a structure.
Oh, guys, I have to jump. So I want to say thank you guys for having me today. I truly enjoyed this conversation, and I look forward to part 2. Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you, Lilian. Thank you, everybody.
Mike, I'd love to have a conversation with you soon, very soon.
Sure. I think we're all on the same email, so yeah, just
Same here,
yeah, I'd definitely like to catch up with you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, y'all be safe. Lil,
Yes, Kwaku.
Lilian Blankson, thank you very much for coming through and giving me your time, giving us your time, because there's an ecosystem right there out there listening.
Thank you.
But yeah, I look forward to the part 2. And I think the part 2 will be quite lengthy, because we got a lot to talk about, got a lot to unpack.
We do.
Yes.
We have a lot to talk about. This was incredible. I'm honored, and I'm very, very appreciative for being considered. And I really, I'm excited and hopeful. I'm cautiously hopeful about what the future has for African entertainment and what, you know, the future has for Ghanaian entertainers. I really am prayerful that all the legwork that has been done, you know, thus far is going to really open up this, you know, roadway and bring success to us. You were excellent as always, Kwaku. Big fan and will always be. Thanks for having me.
God bless. Thank you so very much.
Thanks to Yusuf too. Thank you, Yusuf. All right. Bye.
Thank you. Thank y'all.